Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human Gina. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. It is an absolutely remarkable time in my life, and I think I might have said this last time too. This time between April of 2024 and currently, which is September, today is September 21st, 2024, has been an incredible time of change and transformation for me. And if you've listened to any of the episodes that I recorded between that time frame, you're aware of what I've been experiencing. And it has been, I need a new word for incredible or remarkable. It is truly otherworldly, and this continues. I wasn't sure I was going to record today. I thought about maybe talking about a specific subject matter that has been on my mind, but as I lay on my couch at 1 in the afternoon on a Saturday, enveloped in this feeling, the new symptoms that I'm experiencing from all these changes that I'm going through, I felt inspired to record today and to talk about this because it's so incredible. I have been aware that I am affected by the lunar cycles, that the moon has an impact, and it does on all of us as well as on the earth. Um, but I was not aware of how impactful the lunar cycles were on my body physically, as well as electromagnetically, energetically. Um, from what I understand, the cycles of energy that come in through these celestial events, and it doesn't have to just be the lunar cycle, it's the sun, it is the planet alignments, it is all kinds of different configurations in the cosmos that cause these energetic cycles to come into the earth plane and to affect us humans and all living things in a one way or another. And I'm going through a particularly powerful event right now that is reminding me of what I went through when we had the solar eclipse just a few months ago, and how much that impacted my body, and how I was so surprised I was to be so aware at a sensory and honestly mental level of what was happening to my body, of this transformation that I'm still undergoing, that is readying me or preparing me for this next phase of my life. And I've described this as a dimensional shift, that I was from a sensory level all the way to a cellular level, and then a heart magnetism awareness of this change in my reality, in the frequency of energy that I live in, and how it has caused an awareness of my old life as living in a 3D matrix. And I did an episode about that, how I have a perception of myself in the lower frequencies that is so specific, uh, as if I'm in outer space looking down at a world I used to live in. It is that uh, stark of a reality change that I can view my old life as a completely different and separate existence, because it is my body and mind and heart has changed so much. And but I have a whole other dimensional quality to talk about today, because I have been aware. I was aware before it happened that it might bring in an energetic cycle, but I wasn't sure how it would manifest or how it would emerge or how it would feel, how I would sense it until it happened. And I'm speaking about the latest lunar event, which was on September 17th and 18th, which was a harvest moon, which is a special moon, but it was coupled with a lunar eclipse, which is a rare occurrence. And I knew this would have an impact. I just didn't know to what degree. But it's so interesting now to be 3 days later, it's September 21st, and I am enveloped in this mutation of my body. And it's so interesting how art imitates life, and how I have been drawn to watch television content that is mirroring what I'm going through. And this is so fantastic. um, that I'm watching a show on Netflix called Shamaran, I think is what it's called. It's an it's a strange show. I overlooked it several times before I finally opened it and clicked on it, or opened it and started to watch it, and it started to feel this incredible deep resonation with this story. And there are other stories that I'm watching, other shows that I'm watching on TV that mirror this same dynamic between the two lead characters, which is a masculine and feminine energy, a man and a woman. And they are essentially supernatural beings having a human experience, and they're going through energetically, or their own transmutations uh, of who they truly are at a soul level, which is a supernatural being, and how it's affecting their human existence. And this is exactly what's happening and has been happening to me throughout this transmutation over the last 3+ years now. When I went into the dark night of the soul, or into my awakening, after the catalytic event of the breakup with my ex-husband. And it has brought me to this extraordinary time in my life where I am standing at the threshold of a brand new existence. And I cannot express that more. That is exactly what this is. This is not a romanticization of a minor shift in my life that is going to open up something new that would be a normal human experience. This is an epic cosmic shift in my life that has been described as a timeline shift. And another interesting thing about about what's going on in my life now is I've talked at length about the social media messages that I've been receiving since the end of last year, 2023. About the middle of December, I started to receive these messages that are from the higher self of my twin flame, which is the other half of my soul embodied in a masculine energy, which is a man, the man I'm meant to meet and share the rest of this journey with. That I've been receiving messages from him throughout the last 3 years that I've known about him, but specifically via social media messages for the last oh my God, 9 months now. And I went back and looked, and they number the messages number over 450 at this point that I've received, and I've kept every single one of them. And they are messages of uh, inspiration, of expansion, of and one was actually described specifically from my twin flame as saying, "I am preparing your heart to receive this love." I've been reconditioned, and I've talked about this in an episode as well, reconditioned for this new phase in my life by these messages from my twin flame, which are expanding my heart and readying, clearing my body of these old wounds and the imprints of the abuse that I underwent, and the low vibrational relationships that I experienced, which would have left me with an image or an expectation that was also along the same lines of what I had experienced. But this erased all that. This reconditioning erased those imprints on my energy and on my body, so I can be open to experience something otherworldly. And this has been described as true love, and with a man who I am designed energetically by the cosmos to be with. He is the other half of my soul and my heart. I've talked about this before, but beyond these messages that have expanded my expectations and allowed me to envision a love that is out of my uh, pay grade, if you might want to say, out of my range of experiences. The tarot readings that I stopped viewing more than a year and a half ago are back. And for those of you who are familiar with this, it was the end of January 2023. It was right before the birth of my granddaughter, literally within days, that I decided that I did not need the constant validation that the tarot readings gave me, that these readings gave me a full-blown picture of my destined future, which included my twin flame, included the fact that I would be moving across the world to an island in the middle of nowhere, that I would be blessed with a lot of money, and that I would be successful materially in the world, that I would experience my own success. And then it took, I viewed those messages for over a year. I kept every single one of them. Again, I have a catalog of them, which I probably will turn into a book one day. But they prepared me for what was coming. And then I said to them, my soul tribe, I said, I'm good. I don't need the hand holding every day. You can stop the messages. I think I got it. And I explained how the messages stopped, even though I went to look at one, it no longer resonated. And then I received a message not long after that said, yes, you can trust that you don't need these anymore. We're still with you, but you don't need the constant validation. Well, that was more than a year and a half ago. And actually, the end of January will be 2 years since I viewed any tarot messages at all. Well, they have returned. And to my surprise, because I was watching a video, which I do on occasion on my video channel, and it contained a tarot reading. About the middle of it, a young woman was talking about something that I resonated with, which happens a lot. I am sent these videos serendipitously, and if I'm drawn to them and open them, they contain some sort of message. But I have not had a tarot reading in all that time. And there was a young woman from Sweden who ended up doing a tarot reading in the middle of a video I was watching, and every bit of it resonated, talking about all of the things that I learned about during the year that the initial year that I viewed the tarot, back between 1920 or 2021 and 2023, that I was all of the same elements of my destiny, that my twin flame was near, that travel was in my future, which I had gleaned from the social media advertisements, that I was going to be traveling. I talked about that. And then this voyage across the world to an alien terrain. And I'm learning more about this, and I'll share more about it as I have it, but I'm writing fervently in my book about this almost every day. All of the same things that I was told in the earlier readings are coming up again. And I felt kind of like I was cheating on my isolation from them when I viewed them. But then I soon realized that this is a new wave of messages meant to guide me through this next phase of my journey. They're not the old validating ones anymore. This is a new crop of messages meant to guide me and confirm for me what I am going through, so I can maintain my intention and my focus on what's ahead for me. So these tarot readings are back, and they're talking about now my vocation and how I'm going to be rocketed into a new life where I will experience material success for the first time, where my voice, which is my purpose, is meant to be heard. And I'm going to be thrust quickly into the spotlight, and I have to be aware that that's going to happen. And that there will be a vehicle that I will receive an offer, which I talked about as well, that will take me to that new reality. And I believe that that new reality is going to be tied to my twin flame, John, from New Zealand. And there's so much more going on there, but I don't want to speak hours and hours, because I certainly could. But one of these messages was actually just yesterday. And it was a new tarot reader who I'd never experienced before. And again, for those of you who don't know, when I open my video channel, we get a grid of suggested videos, or the ones that we are subscribed to come up in this grid. And when there's a position on this page that is the upper right hand corner, that if something appears there, I know that it's probably has relevance to what I'm going through. And it's probably a good idea for me to click on it, whether it is a tarot reading or another video from a content provider who talks about the vibrational frequency that I am on, and gives me advice. Like, for example, I'll get videos about the Pleiadian High Council, which is a source of wisdom from a race of beings outside of our solar system. Actually, they're in our solar system. I think the Pleiades star system is in our solar system, and they exist there. They are humanoid and they are considered alien, but they're part of my heritage and they guide me. And this is so interesting. And I don't talk about this a lot, and I won't today, maybe someday, the alien element here. But for anybody cringing right now, we all have an alien heritage. None of us are born here on Earth. There isn't a store where called Souls Are Us, where we go choose our soul and it's American, it lives in America, or it's whatever country that you're living in or from. Souls come from outside of this earthly realm into this earth realm to have an experience. So let me just leave it there so I don't go off track too far. But this message that I received yesterday about what I'm going through currently, and they always reflect current energy, which is amazing, had a couple of really interesting elements to it. One of them was validation about the relationships that I left in my old world. And one of them I very recently left, which was somebody who I had a half relationship with. And the other one was my karmic soulmate, which was my ex-husband. And I was surprised to hear about my ex-husband because it has been so long since I've really had any real energetic connection to that beyond about 2 months ago. It was June, end of June, 3 months ago, where I had a meeting with him. And I talked about this in an episode as well, where I felt compelled to call him and meet with him and to tell him that I love him and that I appreciate the gift that he gave me, which was my awakening. He was a catalyst for it. And I see him at a soul level, which was a double-edged sword when I was with him, because it didn't allow me to understand that although I saw the purity of his heart, I was in danger in his energy. And I didn't realize that until I collapsed from it. So anyway, basically the reader was talking about this masculine energy who brought in a huge karmic burden into this world, that he is an ancient soul as I am. And that makes sense to me because we agreed to have this karmic interaction, this marriage. And he agreed in an earlier life or a non-lifetime to cause my awakening, which he very efficiently did, that I described at length. Well, I was also supposed to, from what I understood in the earlier tarot messages, I was also supposed to catalyze or cause his awakening. That was our agreement. And that our agreement wasn't satisfied until both of us awakened. Well, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I honestly, even the last time I met with him just a few months ago, he still appeared to be the same person. He was very much lost in his dark night of the soul, from what I could tell. His mannerisms, the way he spoke, was all very familiar. It didn't feel any different to me. And I left there feeling very good about what I had done, but I didn't feel that maybe it had any impact at all. And I even opined about the purpose of it. I wasn't sure until I received a message telling me that I was to do something which was described as an act of forgiveness, which was what I ended up believing that was. So this message was talking about how him and the karmic burden that he brought in, and how he didn't realize how heavy the burden was, and that he was having trouble transmuting it, which is what we do when we start to look inward. We start to reconcile with our pain and our feelings and our shortcomings and our failures and who we are in our lives, how we perceive ourselves. We start to reconcile that. And this starts to come out of our body. It begins to purge. And I described this in an article that I wrote called The Emotional Baggage Handler. And I also did an episode about it with the same name. is we go through this process of purging our energetic debris, our emotional debris, and it literally gets purged through a channel in our body that is started by a feeling, and this feeling is invoked by looking at something painful or that we're uncomfortable with in our body, looking within. And then when we connect with this feeling of sadness or pain or anger or whatever however it's charged, that emotion ends up being rocketed out of our body through the emotional reaction to it. So you might cry, or you might scream, or you might um, run or punch a punching bag. However, it needs to come out on an energetic wave, is my point. And that energetic wave purges that memory or that imprint of that out of our bodies, and it's gone for good, reconciled. But we have to look it in the face. It's not something we can do without intention. So when you start to feel pain and you start to cry and you push it all back down, and you go drink or eat or have a toxic relationship or do something else detrimental to your health, wellness, and well-being, you are not intentionally dealing with it. And that just compounds it and buries it deeper and causes more and more issues, which end up manifesting as illness and dis-ease in our lives. So he had carried such a heavy burden, he couldn't see beyond it. He projected that burden onto me, the empath, the one who sees his pure heart, who forgave him over and over and over until I could no longer forgive him and I collapsed. That was our dynamic. That's how he caused or catalyzed my awakening, by exhausting me to the point where I had a nervous breakdown. And in that nervous breakdown, I was cracked open, and I began to see the way forward, which was inward. I was supposed to cause that for him. And again, I don't know how. To this point, I didn't know how that was going to happen. Well, anyway, not to belabor this, I was told in this reading that he is beginning to look inward, and that he is starting to see another way beyond the egoic veil that the ego, which is again a double-edged sword, just like everything in our bodies, until we reconcile it. It causes a barrier, the ego, to our inner world, because the ego doesn't understand our inner world. It only knows the brain and outward. It doesn't understand the cosmic void inside of us that carries all of our power, where all of our power comes from. So I didn't know or believe, honestly, anymore that this was going to happen. But I was told that this is starting to happen for him. And I was told that it was by my example that he's starting to experience or explore this other avenue, which of course gave me great joy, because I've always wished that for him. And just maybe in me going and meeting with him and telling him I loved him, and I didn't forgive him. I didn't feel the need to forgive him. I just thanked him for giving me this gift of this awakening. So anyway, that happened, which was beautiful. And I know that our soul contract will be satisfied if he is able to experience that awakening, at least to some level. And I was told again that he has to do it at his own pace. And whether he finishes it or not in this lifetime is not up to me. So what I did for him this morning is I just sent him an incredible wave of love and warmth and white light, just to envelop his heart, to know that he's not alone. And this is what I try to do whenever I have the inclination, and just hold him and let him know that my higher self is here with your higher self, and we both have an interest in your awakening, and you're not alone. So anyway, in this same message, just real quickly, the other relationship that I had to let go of, and this was another really powerful message for me to hear, I was feeling a lot of guilt about, because this person was close to me. And the relationship because of the relationship that we had, there was an expectation that we would always be in each other's lives. And I never really believed that at all, but I knew that expectation was there for me. So it was difficult to let go of this half relationship, but I received a message that really helped me to come to terms with it. And I've received several since the end of this relationship, which was a couple of months ago, that I did the right thing, that I had to do what was best for me, that being in a relationship that is only half there is not good for any of us. It doesn't serve our highest purpose, which is to continue to grow and evolve. And these relationships tend to hold us in a lower vibrational capacity, which makes us doubt our desire to move away from it because we don't want to hurt the other person. And we end up trapped in these cycles. And I've certainly been a victim, or I'm not a victim, I've been the cause of this throughout my life. And the way this was described to me yesterday in this reading was so poignant, and it helped me so much to understand why the guilt that I felt was unwarranted. Because this person is very positive, and they're very outwardly outgoing and friendly and kind and loving and wonderful. But remember, I can see people at a soul level, and I knew that this person was suffering deeply at a very low vibrational level, and I couldn't do anything to affect that. And that's something that I had to really learn, and why I finally came to terms with having to leave my ex-husband, who was this pure ancient soul who I was never ever going to heal. We can only heal ourselves. My job was to get out of danger, which I had finally was able to do. And with this other person, this half relationship, they were described uh, as having toxic positivity. And I had never heard that term before. And this was such an amazing um, revelation for me to have, because it really allowed me to let go of any residual guilt I had over leaving someone who seemed so open and loving. So you get the dichotomy here was very strange. But I knew on a vibrational level that I had no resonation with this person at all, none. And it was uncomfortable. And I would even say, this is not comfortable. Are you comfortable? And the only reaction would be, of course I am. I love you. You know what I mean? This relationship that was just expected to endure forever. And I never felt that connection, and I knew it wasn't there. And anyway, this message talked about this person's toxic positivity, and how when somebody puts on this front of being positive, that they convince themselves that they are this happy, joyful person, and it prevents them from going deep enough in their body to actually heal. And this really helped me to see this relationship more clearly. And the fact that my moving away from it, or ending it, really is what I did, was the only right decision for me, no matter what the relationship was. And I would often use the example, I don't care if you're Jesus Christ or the Pope. If that resonation is not there, if we are not resonating and we don't have an interest in each other evolving energetically and emotionally, if that's not our goal together, then I cannot be in your energetic field. It can't be. And this was something I had to learn. And seeing this from some of the perspective of my soul team, who these messages are coming from, my spirit guides, it really helped me to embrace what I did, which was to end that relationship, and to see that person for who they are, which is, again, not a judgment at all. It is another form of a toxic ego. And the ego isn't just a bully. The ego is timid. The ego is happy. The ego is a barrier to going deep enough in the body to find where these demons and these dragons are residing, and to finally either domesticate them, that's how I consider, or I relate to my dragons. I don't kill the dragons, I domesticate them. They become part of my energy, my power. And the demons get exorcised. I mean, that's just a natural way to put that. But that's where they reside, deep enough in the body where the ego doesn't want to go there, because the ego knows it has no power there. So the ego keeps our mind and our heart focused outward in the world, where we're looking constantly for that healing. So the ego is not bad until it's reconciled, though. The antithesis to our healing. It will not allow it. And I just want to make that clear. And I have an article on my website called Ego, which goes deep into that subject matter. So anyway, so this relationship was also described in this same reading, which really gave me a lot of heart comfort, knowing that I did the right thing, even though it was extremely uncomfortable. It was one of the most difficult things I had to do, was to break up with this person. But anyway, within the same reading, which was very powerful, and the ones lately have been very, very powerful, was a description of what I'm going through after this lunar event, this harvest moon with a lunar eclipse, which is a rare and beautiful and very powerful celestial event. And one I was very aware of before it started, that I would have an impact. I would feel in some way or another. Now, the solar eclipse that was back in April, which was, again, this is a very powerful time in time and space for energetic cycles. And I am, of course, this is no mistake, that I am ready for this transformation, this timeline shift. Because these cycles are coming in, I'm able to have this incredible experience. So it talked about how I am being affected by this, and it was called a timeline shift. Now, I've been referring to this as a dimensional shift, which is also true. But this added another dimension, no pun intended, to what I'm experiencing. And I wrote about actually, I mostly spoke about in my last, whatever I've recorded since April of this year, every episode I've talked about this. The ESP and the 3D matrix was the last one that I did, which I talked about this new sensory perception I have of the energy in my life and around me, and how I describe the last 3 years of my life, where I still am right now, is a world between worlds. This is like a waiting room between the old life that I lived for 58 years when I went into my spiritual awakening, and the new life that is waiting for me, I believe, in 4 weeks from now, actually from today, in another world, in this new timeline, in this new dimensional reality. And I say 4 weeks from now because in 4 weeks, I'm flying to Miami, Florida. I live in the Midwest, and I'm going to be speaking at a conference. And I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, where I had a dream about what was going to happen. I had remembered or resonated with an old tarot reading that talked about how I was going to meet my twin flame out of town at an event or a conference where one of us was being showcased. And along with that, and another dream I had 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that I did an episode called 7:30 Pull the Trigger, where I was told to pull the trigger on 7:30. And 7:30 passed 2 months, just under 2 months ago. I pulled the trigger, which ended up causing me to sign up to speak at this conference. So all these synchronicities are happening at this amazing time in my life to get me at this location in Miami, Florida, October 21st and 22nd. And I believe through these dreams and this tarot that's where I'm going to meet my twin flame. That's where we're going to meet. So I believe that timeline shift is going to happen when I fly to Florida. And it's so funny because this reading, the one containing all this information about this timeline shift that I viewed yesterday, the emojis that the reader used on either side of the title are rocket ships. And these rocket ships were also used by the young lady who is the event coordinator, who I worked with to sign up and to speak at this conference. She posted about me yesterday on our professional social media, I guess I can say LinkedIn, about my participation in this event. And she wrote a bio about me and what I'm going to speak about and who I am. And she used rocket emojis on the posting, which was amazing because when I daydreamed about my commercial or professional success as a speaker and a thought leader, I imagined it as a rocket taking off into the ethos. And I imagined that rocket being built by my twin flame. And I'll talk about that in a moment, if I remember, because sometimes I don't remember, but hopefully I will. Rocket, twin flame. Okay, remind me. So I'm receiving this reading about this timeline shift and how I have been energetically prepared for this, and that right now the way I'm feeling because of this energetic cycle, she described it to a T, and I am just so blown away by this. And I was laying on the couch in the afternoon today, which is the day after I heard the reading, 3 days after this lunar event, feeling like I got off of an elevator that was falling 500 floors. I feel like I've been turned, like you play the game when you're kids where you put your head on a bat and the bat's on the ground and you turn around the bat and then you stand up and try to walk. That feeling of dizziness and even nausea. And this is new. This is a new symptom or set of symptoms from this energetic ascension and expansion that I've been undergoing. So this reading was my spirit guide saying, "Hey, Gina, here's a validation of what you're going through. Let me help you understand it." And they've always done this for me. And this was described, and the young woman said, "Think of the movie Back to the Future." Where they are thrown through time in the DeLorean and they get out feeling nauseated and dizzy, because that's how you would feel being pushed through time or shot through time. Like the physical elements of your body are more dense, so they take longer to get there. And there's literally like a reconfiguration of your body when you land, when you go through a time machine, which I imagine that's what it would feel like. That's how she described how I feel. And it was exactly right. It was so poignant how she described what I'm feeling. And today is worse than yesterday, and the day before was not as bad. This is ever since right about the day or two before the lunar cycle or the full moon, and then now is day 3, and I am feeling the absolute worst. And I kind of wanted to do this while I was feeling this way so I could really speak of it with more clarity on how I'm actually feeling. And I feel this intense like I just got off a roller coaster, and it's like I can't walk straight. I mean, I literally can walk straight, but I feel like I am going to fall down. It is, and I'm lying on my couch today, and I can't go anywhere. I just want to rest. And of course, I was told over and over, just rest. This is why you're in this world between worlds, this waiting room into the next phase of my life, this new timeline shift. And I wrote about this yesterday. I described it this way: that I was living a life for 58 years in an old timeline. And when I went into my awakening, I was basically deconstructed and put back together with this alien tech, that I'm no longer the same person at any level that I was before, energetically, emotionally, mentally. All of my all my subtle and physical bodies have been upgraded. And that's how it's been described to me, from a carbon-based energy or material to a crystalline material, which is silicone based and is light, and it's filled with air and light, and it doesn't have the same density, which explains all of the other things that I've been going through. I lost more weight because that was another symptom of this new energetic cycle. I was told that you might experience weight loss, and I just noticed the other day the pants that I wear every day don't fit me anymore, and I finally had to retire them. I had already lost over 30 pounds, so I lost more weight. I'm not alarmed because this is what naturally is happening to my body. My diet has changed. All these things I talked about before in the episode Transformation. Everything has changed. My tolerances, my preferences, everything, because of this new energetic composite of my body. Physical composite of my body. The way my body is physically structured now is so much lighter and different. So it's talking about all of these changes, and I'm sorry, I was saying that I described my old life as an old timeline, and I'm in this waiting room where I was completely reconfigured. I was Frankenstein, you might want to say, and now I'm at the threshold of this new world, which has been described as literally a new world, that I'm going to be leaving the old and going into the new. And I describe this as being airlifted out of my old timeline, my old life, and dropped into a brand new reality or timeline. So I'm going from a trajectory of living the life of a 3-dimensional woman who experienced physical, emotional abuse, who was trapped for so long, 58 years. God, 58 years. I'm 61. I'll be 62 in 2 weeks. And I was that trajectory has a very predictable end, that I would have felt happy and joyful to be free of a toxic relationship, which I was. Even in this new energy, I would be happy to just have access to my daughter and granddaughter and to live the rest of my life retired and free. That would have been the best case scenario of the trajectory of my old life. Maybe I would have met somebody, maybe I wouldn't have, but I would have understood at a cellular level that I was more than likely going to be in another low vibrational relationship because I was a low vibrational woman. I was in that lower vibration. So love does not exist outside of that. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get onto another tangent here. I got to be careful because this is a whole other subject matter. So let me just say that in order for me to experience true love in a clear and open body, I had to be airlifted out of that old frequency and into a dimensional reality that where that frequency exists. So love is the highest frequency. Love heals all. Love creates. Love uh, uh, elevates and ascends. Love embraces. Love is the answer. I mean, it sounds like a corny bumper sticker, but it's the absolute truth. Love is a very high frequency. It does not exist in the lower frequencies. I don't want to go too far into that, and maybe I will in another episode. But my point is that I was lifted out of that old dimensional frequency and into this new timeline where now the trajectory of my life is completely different. I am not being hyperbolic. I am not exaggerating. My entire life trajectory has now changed. I am no longer going to experience the last chapter of a life of the woman that I used to be. The next chapter of my life is now going to be of a completely different person. And I want to make that, this is not an exaggeration. And I had to really come to terms with this when I was thinking of this. I am a different person now. And because I no longer resonate in the lower vibrations. I no longer carry the emotional debris that was only possible in the lower vibrations, that I no longer resonate with the life and relationships that I've let every single relationship that I've ever had go. I am sitting in a place of complete isolation. There's not one person on this earth that I speak to regularly, that I visit regularly, that I consider a close person in my life, except for my girls. And this is not a mistake. This is part of the isolation that I've been in for the last 3+ years. I had to shed everything. I literally shed my skin, which is why the show Shamaran that I started to talk about is about a man who has a snake soul, who had to just go through a mutation where he had to lie on a marble table for days while he shed that skin. This is what this feels like. This transmutation from one human being's existence to a completely different one. Now, the soul can achieve this in different ways. The soul can jump from one body to another. I'm not saying that they do that regularly, but if somebody is hit by a car and goes into a coma and wakes up with memory loss, that is an opportunity for a soul to switch with another soul. The soul might say, I'm done with this. You want to come in? And they switch places. That person wakes up and has no memory of their earlier life. This is how dynamic the soul is. So this could have been achieved that way. But instead, my soul team, my higher self, transmuted the old energetic body that was inside this physical body, this shell, and the physical body into this new person. So I have been completely transformed, and I no longer resonate with my old world in lock, stock, and barrel. And I'm not saying that my relationships don't no longer mean anything, because I have family members that are not immediate family that I care about very deeply, and immediate family members that I care about. I just no longer have a connection to, and they are always going to be there. But again, this is just part of this uh, incredible change. So I am completely isolated. I am moving through this waiting room and having these procedures done. This latest one has caused me to feel like I have literally quantum leaped through time. And as I'm speaking to you, I am dizzy and disoriented. It is extraordinary how powerful this feeling is. So the trajectory of my old life is erased by this. It is completely erased. And what has happened now, and now these new tarot readings are guiding me into this new dimensional reality, this new timeline, so I can understand what's happening. So could you imagine if I didn't know what was going on and I'm sitting here literally dizzy, my eyes are squeezed closed? I would think I was sick. I would think that something else was wrong. I would not understand, and I would panic. I would be frantic, and I would not trust what was happening. Even though I'm well beyond that stage, my soul team still validates me constantly, saying, yes, what you're feeling is right. Trust it. You are good. It's okay. You're fine. We got you. Because what's going to happen very soon is I'm going to be thrust into a new world where I am going to be, and this is how it was described, in the spotlight, where I am going to have to become comfortable with that and have to understand that this is what my soul's purpose is. And even though I may be, this human being may be more comfortable in the background, because that's absolutely true. I have never been someone who wants to be at the center of attention. I always imagined I'd be a famous singer, because my father was a famous singer. Well, he was famous, I guess. He was a famous singer. I always wanted to be a singer. I have a mediocre talent. It's there, but it's not. I mean, I would never pursue it at this stage, but I always imagined that I would be famous, but then I never wanted to be like a famous singer. I would want to be a studio singer where people heard my voice, but they didn't necessarily know who I was. That's how I envisioned my success. But I've been told that I'm going to be in the spotlight, and that I need to get comfortable with that. And of course, it resonates with a show that I watched on Gaia TV about a young man named Stefano. What's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. But the show is called A Journey of Remembering, and it's on Gaia TV, where he is being guided by souls to carry out his purpose in his life. And this is since he's very young. For me, it's when I was 58 years old. So I've had a lot more maturity to be able to embrace what's happening. But he was told basically that you have to be the center of attention. And he did not like it. He had to go back. He had to reconcile with that, which took him months. He went home and he kind of went into a shell and had to reconcile with that until he could reemerge and become this center of attention, which he certainly has become, because what he has to say, it needs to be shared. The universe, these beings are using him as an instrument, and he had to come to terms with that. I also had to come to terms with that. And I said in my last episode, or the one before, that I'm an instrument for my soul to do what she came here to do. And I'm very comfortable with that. And it has allowed me to let go of everything else and just truly, really enjoy this amazing journey that I'm on, this transformative journey where I'm heading into a reality that was not ever meant for me before. But this is why I had to go through such an incredible upgrade, so I could become this other person and be open to receiving true love, to open to receiving this material success. And you imagine, and I talked about this before, the manifestation is not possible in the lower frequencies. Of course, we manifest what we need, not what we want. So when we get what we want, it comes with all these tests and trials. And so to me, the true expression of being able to enjoy what we manifest is can we enjoy it? Are we clear enough in our bodies to receive something beautiful and not destroy it? You hear about people winning millions and millions of dollars who end up in the poorhouse because they go insane and they can't manage it because they don't feel like they deserve it. So they literally throw it away. and they end up with nothing again where they're comfortable. Somebody falls in love and wants true love, and I want this man or woman to treat me like a god and goddess that I am, but I don't really believe I'm a god or goddess, so I'm going to sabotage it and I'm going to lose it. It was never mine because I didn't feel I deserved it. That's my point. So, but now in this energetic body, in this frequency or this dimensional reality, all of that was I dreamt about but never felt worthy of is now open and ready for me. Because of course I'm worthy. I am a goddess. I am a being from outer space who is so much more than this human existence. And I recognize and embrace that now. I am of another world. I know exactly my alien heritage. I know exactly who I am as a being. I won't talk about that because maybe someday I will, but I've embodied this. So I no longer have the human insecurities. Do I deserve this? Of course I do. I am here on a mission, and these are required for me to do it. My mission is to emote light into this world. And you can only be a beacon of light when you receive light. And you can only receive light if you open, and you can only open if you feel worthy. And you can only feel worthy if you love yourself. And you can only love yourself if you look inside yourself. That is the backwards deconstruction of an awakening. That's it. So I am now embodying this alien, this being, this ancient angel, and I am on a mission. So I have no human concerns. I don't care about politics anymore. I don't care about my neighbor's yard. I don't care about whether I'm going to get a good spot at the grocery store. I don't care about any of that. I have completely lost interest in the 3D matrix. I no longer concern myself with these things. And I'm not saying I have to be an otherworldly being to feel this way. This is a choice. You either look inside yourself and start to reconcile what's in there, start to go through the back of the closet and yank everything out, or you just continue to trust the ego's illusion that you are going to be fine, even though you know better. I'm not saying what I'm doing is undoable by anyone else. I'm just saying I have an absolute acute awareness of everything that I've gone through and where I am right now and where I'm going. Because I was made aware of all of this by my soul team because I have such a specific mission. But I'm here to emit and emote light. And John and I, my twin flame, together in true love, are going to be an explosion. And this is only part of our mission together. There's so much more. But I am no longer going to experience the lifetime, the end of the lifetime I once had. I'm on a whole new trajectory. So when this young woman used the term timeline shift, it opened up a whole nother level of understanding of this dimensional shift that I experienced starting back in April on Easter morning. It's just so amazing. So this new life that's meant for me, and I'm being told again, because this is current energy again and again in these new tarot readings and messages, that I'm going to be thrust into the spotlight. And I'm going to have to get comfortable with that. And another really interesting thing about this, and what I started to talk about and said I would go back to if I remembered, is this dynamic between my twin flame and I, John. And I don't know him yet. I know who he is. I have his picture. I know his full name. I know what his business is. I have access to his website. I don't know any more about him, except for what I glean or get through the tarot readings, which is personal stuff, and I don't want to share it. But anyway, what I know about him, and through oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Again, this life is extraordinary. I am just blown away every day. This incredible life that I'm living. These synchronistic events that keep happening, of course, they're all the time now. And when you start to notice them, you can't not see them. They're everywhere. I was at my daughter's house a week or two ago, and she had a book on her dresser, on her counter in her living room, or her table, about human design. And I've talked about human design many times. Human design is our blueprint of our energetic bodies or our souls. And when we learn about our human design, we get a snapshot of who we are meant to be in this lifetime. And this human design template, coupled with the Gene Keys Golden Path, is the material that I used through my awakening to guide me through my awakening. And I can't accentuate this enough. These tools were integral to me understanding what I was beyond the human mind and my experiences, which of course colored everything that I believed about myself. I was a victim. I didn't have the power to change that. I didn't know that I did until I learned about myself through Gene Keys and through human design. And I'll put links to these in the description if there's one there. And I have many, many times over. You can go to many of my old episodes and find these links. You can go to my website on my podcast page, my episode page. At the very bottom, they're linked there as well. This is how important this material was for me. So this book about human design, I'd never seen it before. I'd only done it's a free template you can do. You can go online and look up human design, or you can use the link that I provide. It's a free tool that you can create your human design chart with your birth date, your birthplace, your name. You could use a different name if you don't want to, whatever. And you get this template. And I found out through this material that I am a projector energy. And I didn't know anything about what that meant. There are 5 different types of energy types, and I'm not going to remember them all. There's projector, there's generator, there's manifester, there's generating manifester, and there's one other that I cannot remember what it is called. They're all on there. So if you put in your personal information and you generate a chart, you'll be told what energy type you are. And based on the energy type, you have a specific purpose in this lifetime. And it details for you. Oh my, this is just amazing. And it blew my mind back then. It still does. Your energetic design, human design, I guess that's a good name for it. And you can go very, very deep into it. You can get an energetic reading from somebody who really understands. There's so many variables to it. But just from the very first look at it, you can glance at your energy type. And the projector type for me was very important for me to understand, because what I did learn about it, which I'm not a specialist here at all. I glean certain things that help unlock things in my knowing, and I just go with that. I don't have to study it, or I don't choose to, maybe, I don't know. But what I learned about myself is that projectors only constitute about 20% of the human population, that we are here as a muse energy for the generators and the manifestors and the manifesting generators. And the manifesting generators, the generators, and the manifestors are the ones who create and build in the world. So I describe my energy as a muse energy. So like in my last relationship, with my ex-husband, I was the energy that fueled our businesses, but he built them. So just to give you an illustration of what I mean, I was the inspiration for a lot of what we did. And I did a lot of the fine tuning and decorated it. I did all of the advertising, everything, but he built it. He built the structure of it. I don't want to go too deep into that. My ex-husband is a manifesting generator. So him coupled with a projector is the dynamic needed for 2 people, a partnership to really build in the world, because the generator can't really build without the projector, because the projector is the inspiration. Do you see what I mean? It's like the generator building without a blueprint. The projector provides the blueprint. That's how I see this. This is how I describe this. So I am what's known as a non-energy energy type. So I have no built-in ability to manifest for myself. This was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I didn't understand throughout my life why I couldn't build anything myself. I tried to start business after business after business. The last one, before I left my corporate job and started working with my ex-husband as his muse, where we built this incredible empire together, I was a life coach. I built a website. I wrote a book. I self-published it. I put tons of money and time into this, and it went absolutely nowhere. It even projected me into what I thought was going to be a new vocation, where I was going to be a panelist. I talked about this before, on a platform where I would be a thought leader. Never manifested, just fell flat. And I ended up working with my ex-husband because I had already quit my corporate job. And we built this incredible business together that I left a year and a half ago that he still runs. So that's the projector role in a partnership with a generator or a manifester. I cannot, on my own, without the generator with me, manifest in the world. So this is so hilarious. But my point is if I didn't understand this about myself, I would still be beating my head against the wall, trying to create something that was never going to manifest for me because I need to be in a partnership. One of the energetic necessities for me in this as a projector is to be in a partnership. And of course, this makes sense that my twin flame, John, and I are going to be a partnership because I am going to be his muse. And I believe that he's a generator. I don't know that yet. I don't know his birth date. I don't know any more about him, but I believe he's going to be a generator, and I'll explain why. He could also be a manifesting generator, but I believe he's going to be a generator because when I was at my daughter's and I picked up this book about human design, I flipped through to the projector part because I'm like, okay, I'll read while I'm sitting here with the baby. She was sleeping or something. I don't know. And I started to read about it, and it was so illuminating for me that I ended up writing about it in my book, and it's been on my mind ever since. And it really has helped me understand this dynamic that I'm going to have with my twin flame and why this human design element is so important, because I cannot build or manifest without him. He is my next partner. He is the partner, quote unquote. He's described as the other half of my soul. So he is the partner. It's 2:22, which, excuse me, but that's my soul tribe saying hello, hello, guys. Anyway, so I'm reading this book, and this whole section about projectors is talking about how, and this is a reminder for me, how a projector needs to be invited into a situation, a life-changing situation. This is another thing that was difficult for me to come to terms with back when I learned about it 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago. What do you mean I have to be invited? I can't choose? No, I can't. This is a rule. This is a rule of being a projector energy. I have to be invited. And the reason why now I completely understand. I am muse energy. And if I am not seen and appreciated for my gifts, I will be misused. Hence my last relationship. I will be abused. I will be misunderstood. My gifts will not be appreciated, and I will be drained, which is what happened in my last relationship. So in order for me not to be drained, I have to be seen, quote unquote, by the entity or person that is inviting me into their organization or their lives. So I have to be appreciated for who I am, a muse energy. So in order for me to be activated as a muse energy, I have to be in an environment where I feel this envelopment of appreciation. And then what happens is I am allowed the energetic sources from these generators and manifesting generators that I'm working with to create for them in the world. Oh, this is so hard to explain, but read this book if you get a chance. It's called, oh crap, I don't remember, but I will link it in the description if I remember. Basically, if I'm not seen, and this is something that I've just wished for over and over in my life. I just want to be seen by someone. I've never been with a person in my life that has truly seen me. And I mean seen at a soul level, the way I see others. With deep empathy and compassion, I see beyond your superficiality, your mask, the illusion of yourself, even the illusion you believe. I see beyond it. So I need somebody to be able to see me deep enough to say, I need this person in my organization because their gifts are irreplaceable. So I have to be invited into a professional capacity. And I've been told that I'm going to receive multiple offers to work with someone, and that I have to be careful about who I choose because that is very meaningful, and that to even wait for a second invitation to be sure this person's invested in having me, that they see the benefit that I can bring to what they're doing. Beyond that, I have to be invited into a love union. I cannot say, hey, I like you, let's go on a date. I can't do that. I have to be seen by this person, and then I have to be asked in. And this is so funny, not funny, funny, not funny, devastating, actually, not funny, is when I met my ex-husband, my karmic soulmate, the Love and the Vampire, the one I wrote about. There's another article on my website called Love and the Emotional Vampire, which is a very descriptive. It's also the way my book starts. But when I met him, I was feeling very confident about myself. Like, I'm going to put myself out there again. I'd been divorced for a few years. I'm going to meet somebody. I'm ready for this. And I was so confident that after we met, I called him and asked him out, essentially inviting the vampire into my house. And if you know anything about vampires, if you invite them in your house, they can come in and they can control you. If you don't invite them in, they can't come in. So I invited the vampire into my own home. That was an unforced error on my part. Funny, not funny. But anyway, I have to be invited into a love union. So I can't say, hey, John, we're twin flames when we meet and we're meant to be together. So let's go. I have to allow whatever happens to happen. And I'm told that it may not be, it may be challenging in the beginning because he is not calibrated to me yet. And he may need to adjust to my energy. And that might be difficult for him in the beginning. So there may not be an instantaneous frequency alignment. But however, I have to wait, and I was told it might be a while for him to understand what is happening and for him to embrace it and for him to look at me and see me and then invite me in. It has to happen that way. The same thing is with a new location. I cannot just say, hey, John, let's move to the island across the world. That invitation has to come from him. Again, it has to come in due time when that energy aligns and that purpose or the time for that destined event emerges. It is a divine time. It cannot be decided by me. I have to be the one to wait. And this is how my energetic design is described, as I have to wait for the invitation. So I have to wait. And I am very aware of that now. And I was serendipitously fell upon this book in my daughter's house less than 2 weeks ago to remind me of that as I enter into this new environment, this new world, this new timeline. So I know how to conduct myself when this all hits the fan. And I've been told this is going to be a collision and that it's all going to happen very, very fast. And that my head's going to spin, basically, that I'm going to be rocketed into this new life with this twin flame. And it's going to be very disorienting. And this was a reminder for me from my higher self saying, hey, Gina, don't forget, wait for the invitation. Don't get caught up. It has to be done in a certain way, in a certain timing. I am going to be, and this is why I believe that John is going to be the vehicle for my success, is because he's a generator. And without his generating ability, I have no manifesting energy. So I can put all the work I want to, and I've been working on this. I've been creating this body of work called Postcards from a Soul and Her Human for more than 3 years now. I've been writing and publishing articles on my website, or posting, I should say. I've been producing this podcast for over 2 years now, and I've been writing a book for more than 3 years. And this is the body of work that I have been creating while I'm being prepared for this new lifetime timeline that I'm going to be entering. And that the message, my work will bring them in, was what I was told, that this is a bridge for me to get to that new world. Now, of course, I was invited to speak at this conference, which was on 7:30. Pull the trigger. Of course, I pulled the trigger, and now I'm going to Miami. And of course, I believe I'm going to meet John there because of the reasons I described. But if he is a generator or a manifesting generator, which I believe he is, once I'm in his energetic field as an appreciated source of energy for him, recognized as the projector Muse energy that I am, invited in with appreciation, then I will then have access to his energetic, oh God, the source of his energy. borrowed pretty much to project me into a manifested, successful business or entity. I don't know what it's going to look like. I have no idea. But this is the projector generator dynamic. And we have to be together in order to experience or create this success. He can't do it without me. No blueprint, even though he can build all day long. I can't do it without him. No manifesting abilities. I can't build a damn thing. Do you see what I mean? I am his muse energy. I am the one who is the wind in the sails of the ship that he built. I am the fuel and the directional system of the rocket that he's going to build. But I can't build the rocket. So that's the dynamic between the generator or the manifesting generator and the projector. There is one other non-energy type, and I can't remember what it's called, but the rest are energy types. They are manifestors. They create or generate in the world. My daughter's a generator. Her husband is a projector. Together is how they're meant to build together. That's the dynamic that is cosmic. That is the divine dynamic. So knowing what your energetic design is like the holy grail in knowing what your purpose is in this world. So, and then beyond that, and again, for me, it was the gene keys, and I don't get anything from either of these resources to talk about them. This was the material that I used to move through my awakening. So I could understand what was happening to me, what exactly I was transmuting, literally the karma I brought into this lifetime and probably many lifetimes that I had to transmute into this incredible, powerful body that I now embody. This was the material that I used. And it's just so extraordinary to be sitting in this energy where I am literally on the tarmac. And I keep using the word literally. I sound like a teenager, I'm sorry. But it's so extraordinary where I'm on the tarmac and this airplane is going to come and lift me out of this reality. I mean, almost said literally again. On the 21st of October to Miami, Florida, where I believe I'm going to meet this man who is going to change my life in every single way. And I'm going to change his. And I've been told that this is going to change my entire reality. And I've been told that, oh my gosh, this is so extraordinary. And the messages are back talking about this travel, this voyage across the world. And this is described as an alien landscape or an alien terrain that I'm going to. And it's so interesting because New Zealand, which I believe is the place that they're referring to, that is where John is from. If you look at the island of New Zealand, which is out in the middle of nowhere, which is how it's described, it's surrounded by the Atlantic and the Pacific. I think maybe I don't know if there's a third ocean there or not, but it is every single terrain is on this little set of islands, the North and South Islands. There are glaciers like in Iceland. There are black beaches like in Iceland. There are palm trees and pine trees. There are mountains and meadows. There are caves and every natural occurring landscape and seascape in the world is in this one place. And there's so much more here that I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to wait and see if it's appropriate. I'm writing about it right now, about what I learned about my origin as a soul, who I was before I came here, and why I am carrying out the type of mission I am is all connected to that. It is extraordinary and magnificent and otherworldly, literally. And I said literally again. I'm sorry, I'll put $1 in the swear jar. You can tell my energy is just exploding. I am blown away by how magical this life is, and how when you were able to look up and just see the sky and just have an understanding of feeling a gleam, a flash, that there's more than what's in front of your face. There's just a whole other universe that we don't have access to when the ego stands sentry at the doorway. And the ego, again, is not bad. The ego is beautiful. It just has to be trained and reconciled with, and then it understands its role, and it becomes becomes a tool in the tool belt of this instrument that is my body, this open, clear channel to source, which has been achieved by this transformation, this transmutation of the energetic debris in my body. So I have no idea what's going to happen in 4 weeks, but my body is, I'm told to trust what I know, and I trust what I know. And there's so much more here, but I don't want to keep talking. I've already been here a while. I just wanted to share all that with you today. And if you have any comments, please reach out. If you're going through anything similar, I would love to speak to somebody who is. But I just wanted to share all that, and I'll pin the links to the material I referenced if there is a description area. And I appreciate your attendance and being with me so long, especially if you stayed till the end. So until we speak again, thank you so much. Bye-bye.